is a choice we get to make. So this brings me to the carbon and the cities. So you're very lucky to have, I think, 20 visitors here from overseas who are here to talk about carbon and cities. Very, very kind and sensitive people. I had a chance to meet with them this morning. Sponsored by Bloomberg Philanthropies and the State Department. And the idea of cities and carbon, I think, is really important. And obviously the cities do too. Because as we look at who's trying to deal with the carbon question at a scale that's meaningful, we see these kinds of groups. And these are the people who are going to help us get this done. And the scale of the human city, where 80% of us will live in mid-century, is a critical dimension. So I decided to play with the idea of the carbon positive city. And now notice my language is different. The paper I'll deliver at Marrakesh and in Nature Journal this fall is called The New Language for Carbon. Because we have weird language for carbon. I don't know if any of you noticed, but negative carbon is a positive. See, if all we think of is carbon in the atmosphere, well, then all we know is that carbon is bad. Well, is carbon bad? If anybody here thinks carbon is really bad, you should probably shoot yourself, dry up, and blow away, because you're mostly carbon. So, carbon is not a bad. Humans can be bad. Carbon is innocent. So we look at this idea of what if carbon's a positive when it's in soil? What if it's a negative in the atmosphere? See? Et cetera, et cetera. So remember this, a toxin is a material in the wrong place. Water is highly toxic. If anybody didn't notice, surround yourself with water for 6 minutes, highly toxic. Jump out of an airplane, hit the ocean 120 miles an hour, highly toxic. Very small duration, very large dose. So any material in the wrong place is a toxin. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is a toxin. It's poison. We know that now. But just remember, this is like lead in rivers. Anybody here think we should put lead in rivers anymore? Okay, now just imagine the parallel on this one. Let's go talk to the children in Flint. Let's pretend lead is CO2. Okay, kids, we're going to reduce the lead in your water by 20% by 2020. How are we doing? It's a toxin. You stop. Oh, let's do net zero. There are people defining net zero carbon as you offset the amount of carbon you release to the atmosphere by renewables to the same amount of energy, and that's your offset. Wait a minute. You're comparing an electron to a molecule, to an atom here. This is silly. Because that means you could double the amount of carbon and double the amount of renewables, and you're still net zero, but you just release twice as much carbon to the atmosphere. What? Can you imagine telling the children in Flint, we're sorry you've got hundreds of times more lead in your water than that is dignified to even consider. So we're going to go to Austin, Texas, and take lead out of the water because it's cheaper, equal to the amount of lead in your water, and now you're lead neutral. Carbon in the atmosphere is a toxin. So, what is good? What is bad? What is positive? What is negative? So, carbon in the soil is an asset. Carbon in the atmosphere is a liability. Why would we create liabilities? I thought we knew how to put wheels on our luggage. So, if we look at cities and we start to think, what is this air? Oh my goodness. What about the soils in China? 19.4% have been declared toxic. The farmland in China. 19.4%. Toxic to food. So what if we started thinking about cities as something connected to the landscape, like that childhood dream in the Alabama song in Japanese, with the farmers and the night soil and the honey wagons. And you start to imagine the farms and the cities are one organism again. And we start to realize that the agriculture doesn't have to be necessarily at village scale next door, but instead of a linear flow city of take, make, waste, where we take the nutrients, we put them in sewage treatment plants, add poison and throw it in the water. Really? Really? What if we had cities that could cycle the biological and technical nutrition for everyone's benefit? Instead of sewage treatment plants, we have fertilizer factories. We bring back the machinery and we reform it. And we continuously improve with integrated flow and concentration. And food that comes from overseas gets consumed in the city, and it becomes food for the farmers. So we recycle the phosphates. This is struvite, phosphate, recovered from the sewage treatment plant of Vancouver. An astonishing thing. Phosphate comes from North Africa, a little bit from Kazakhstan. It is now a strategic mineral. We all need it every single day. Why don't we have the cities become phosphate mines? Think about it. So you take 3 simple steps. You start with your city, you do your inventory. Define the boundaries of the city. Study what you want to consider your greenhouse gas emissions. Study what your opportunities are. Look at the projects that you can do. We now see a solar farm that we just set out for contract at 3 cents a kilowatt hour. We're there. And we go. We then assess these things and figure out which ones we can afford, which ones we can't. And then we optimize. We refine our thinking. We execute. We share. Now it's clear that this is the emissions of carbon from fossil fuels. This is the emissions from land use changes. Here's the land sinks, there's the atmosphere, and there's the oceans. We must bring down this gray zone. We must stop releasing carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. And then we must honor our soil. Franklin Roosevelt. The history of every nation is eventually written in the way in which it cares for its soil. So, our job right now is to change the question of commerce itself from a world of limits and greed. How much can I get for how little I give? Sounds like our election. We're going to change that question to how much can we give for all that we get? It's a world of sharing and abundance. So we imagine our cities reducing the things we don't want, increasing the things we do want, and letting our children lead us into this future. Because all nature is at the disposal of humankind, and all humankind is at the disposal of nature. For we are to work together. For without working together, we cannot survive. And actually, what a delight God gives with these things. So let us glance at the sun, see the moon and the stars, gaze at the beauty of Earth's greenings. Now think, now do. So ask yourself, how do we make the world better because we're here? Insist on the rights of humanity and nature to coexist. In a delightfully diverse, safe, healthy, and just world. This isn't a delightfully less monotonous, less unsafe, less unhealthy, and less unjust world. This is a positive vision. Clean air, clean soil, clean water, and power. We deserve this. We have to fight for this. Economically, equitably, ecologically, and elegantly enjoyed. The earth belongs to the living. Thank you.